Hello again. In the previous course, we identified the problem and its cause. In this course, we will survey the evidence, observe changes in the physical climate, and what steps need to be made to turn this around. The World Meteorological Organization confirms 2024 as the first calendar year to average around 1.55 degrees Celsius above the 90s. As we can see, after the 1990, the acceleration has vastly increased. It is also worth mentioning that plus minus 0.13 degrees Celsius does not reflect any doubt about the upward trend. It just reflects the measurement spread. Now, warming doesn't stay put. Heat melts ice and expands water. That shows up in rising seas. Satellites measure a 102 millimeters rise since 1993. The rate has doubled from 2 millimeters per year in the 1990s to 4.6 millimeters per year today. That's like pouring an extra smartphone thickness of water over every square meter of the ocean every year. Parallel signs appear in ice and extreme weather. Arctic sea ice minimums down to 40% since the early 1980s. Mountain glaciers are losing about 1 meter of ice thickness per year on average. Heat waves that were once in 50-year events now hit about every decade. The probability will triple again under 2 degrees Celsius warming. These fingerprints were in climate model papers as early as the 1980s. Validation builds trust. Physical changes translate into ecological impacts. Let's start underwater. The ongoing fourth global bleaching event has affected roughly 77% of the world's reefs. According to the UN emergency briefings at COP16, animal and plant ranges are moving poleward. 70 kilometers per decade on land, 70 kilometers per decade in the ocean. These ecological shocks ripple into human systems. Food, water, infrastructure. World Bank attributes 1% of global GDP already lost each year to climate-linked disasters. That's larger than Switzerland's entire economy. In South Asia, heat stress cut outdoor labor productivity down to around 6% in 2024 harvest season, roughly one workday lost per month. Rail lines in the UK saw a five-fold increase in sinking incidents, so this means rails buckling, versus the 1990s baseline. Health and security dimensions amplify the pressure. Dengue transmission susceptibility now reaches 500 meters further up mountain slopes in Latin America compared with 1970. The US Department of Defense labels climate as a threat multiplier, not an isolated cause of conflict, but an accelerant. Around 61,000 deaths appear to have heat-related causes. Given the stakes, what's happening with the root cause? Emissions. Do they keep increasing? Based on the IEA 2025 review, energy-related CO2 reached 37.8 gigatons in 2024, up 0.8% from 2023. We didn't have a record growth in renewables, the rise would have been triple if we didn't have this record growth. To align with a 1.5 degrees Celsius pathway, emissions need to fall around 7% per year this decade. So let's zoom in on the bright spot, clean energy momentum. Clean energy, including hydro, wind, solar, nuclear, supplied just over 40% of global power in 2024. Wind and solar alone hit 15%, an astonishing 480 terawatt hours added in 2024. This is the equivalent electricity demand of Spain. These sources of energy do not only help us decrease the greenhouse gas emissions, they are also cheaper than the conventional ways that include fossil fuel. Utility scale solar now averages $26 per megawatt hour in the best markets, cheaper than coal almost everywhere. Technology growth sits inside a policy frame. Net zero pledges and carbon pricing. As of May 2025, nations representing 88% of global GDP have announced net zero targets, 35% enshrined in law. Compliance carbon pricing now covers 23% of global emissions as a mean of $48 per ton. Triple the coverage in 2015, but still below the $120 needed for the 1.5 degrees Celsius goal. Since now we talked about how we can mitigate climate change effects. However, climate change is here and the global community is forced to adapt. Mitigation fights the cause. Adaptation tackles symptoms already locked in, starting with better warnings. By March 2024, 108 countries, about 22% of the world, reported having multi-hazard early warning systems. This is almost a 50% increase compared to 2015. Beyond alarms, we are also working with nature to absorb climatic blows. A noteworthy example is Indonesia's Mangroves for Coastal Residents project. It plans to restore a huge amount of hectares, potentially shielding about 2 million coastal residents while storing hundreds of millions of tons of blue carbon. This also benefits the local habitat, the fisheries, along with the tourism of the area. Every money spent on mangrove restoration yields around 6.5 euros in avoided storm damage costs. In a nutshell, so where is the climate headed in the near term? Based on WMO, there's an 80% chance that at least 1 year before 2030, we will average above 1.5 degrees Celsius. A single year overshoot doesn't equal permanent breach. The Paris threshold refers to a multi-decade average, but repeated annual overshoots raise the probability of locking in a long-term breach, especially if they trigger self-reinforcing feedbacks like permafrost thaw. Success is an award with zero climate impacts. We've already bought some warming. Success is a word in which impacts remain manageable and human development can thrive. Climate change was created in roughly 8 generations. Solving it inside one more is still possible. Thank you for your attention, and remember, every ton avoided, every community protected nudges the climate dial to a safer setting.